Hey guys, this video is all about another card fight Vanguard deck profile, so hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and subscribe. This time we're covering DZLM set 1 for Lyrical Monasterio, the final Lyrical Monasterio DZ set deck for 1, and that would be Coral. So, Coral is a new deck that has basically the focus on shoving a bunch of corals to soul, getting a lot of powerful effects, getting the restands, getting all that good stuff. Normally when I leave a deck for last, it's typically my favorite. But I started this entire list with Michu and I forgot who, Lutetia, which are my favorites. And then Sagitta I did right before this. So, or not right before this, because I'm recording Sienna right before this, but you get my point. So, it's weird that Coral's the last one, but that's not to say that I hate Coral. I actually do like Coral a lot. I just want to say she's like my favorite, obviously, because Michu's the thing. Anyways, we're going to start how we see what we got, because honestly, this deck is actually fun to play and allows me to do something that I haven't gotten to do in a long time, which I find interesting. First up today, we have a Ride Deck Crest. It's our energy generator. You might Ride Deck Crest in your Ride Deck, auto Ride Deck. When you drive, put this card to your crest zone, include a second energy charge 3, continues to be 10 energy in a big auto, beginning of your ride phase, energy charge 3, then act once per turn, energy boss 7, draw a card. All around very solid. You get a 3 for energy every single turn. If you want second, you get a free 3 energy on top of that, meaning you could use your energy skills more effectively. And since your main Vanguard costs energy blast 4 for her skill and does not have a generic energy charger, this is very helpful. Well, it does, but not a good one. Well, a good one is saying it's not a good one is a very harsh statement. Not preferred one. Anyways, and then if you end up having the situation where you can't energy blast 7 to draw a card, you will never be in that situation, FYI. You can use that. The reason why I say that is because literally the times where you could use that skill, there are other skills that could make you draw more. The only time you're going to do that is if you have no corals in soul. And at that point, you're probably losing the game anyways. So one of the Ride Deck Crest in the Ride Deck. And move on to our starter in Angelic Star Coral. Great Zone boost, 5k show, 6k base, auto road, pine for second draw card, standard start, spot free draw if you go second. Run this as your starter. I don't remember if the great one or not requires as a rival, even though I literally just put this deck profile together, but do not run this as your starter because you want as many corals as possible in soul, and if you have the full coral line in soul, when you first get to grade 3 turn, if you send any coral to soul, you automatically have 4 corals in soul, meaning your front row gets plus 10,000 power. So even if you don't need this as your starter, run it as anyways, just to get that 5k a little bit extra easier. So 1 of coral on the Ride Deck. Then we have our triggers. When our over trigger Mysterious Twins, Romia and Rumia. Grid Zone boost, 50k shield, 5k power, over trigger in your deck. When revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one to use. It gets plus 1 move for the turn. And if you revealed it during your draft check, activate its additional effect. Would you get during this fight, you get during your turn. Or your rear guards get plus 10,000 power. All around very solid because whether you draft checks or damage check this, you draw a card, someone gets a million, which means either someone's hitting that turn unless your opponent has a PG, or someone's not hitting that turn unless your opponent pulls their own over, has a way to bypass the power. But also the fact that if you pull this offensively, your entire rear guard gets 10. On top of your front row already getting at least 10 from Coral skill, and one of which being a restand, which might get another 10 on top of that. Like, the point is, you just get numbers galore and you slowly bully your opponent down. And let me tell you this, if your Coral deck, if you play this deck and you get to the end game, you will, and by end game I mean like you get like 2 to 3 good grade 3 turns off of this, your opponent is going to die when the end game rolls around because you're getting so much pluses off that. Hell, if you pull Romeo and Rumia and you're in that end game situation, your opponent is most likely already dead. At that point, any moves that isn't just swing battle phase is probably you just flexing on your dead opponent. So one of Romeo and Rumia, you can really make it any over you want. You can even go Vaughn for consistent multi-attacking, Isphoria for recycling, or a Dark Over trigger for healing and calling, but I prefer Romeo and Rumia because pressure. Then we have our normal triggers. Okay, we all saw this coming. I can't make any promises that I won't do this in set 4, but hopefully this is the last time I say this for a while, because even I'm getting tired of this. 2 of Transparent Snow Knight Baratoy, 2 copies of Snowskip Palvi, Great Zoe boost, 50k show, 4k power, Great Zoe boost, 5k show, 4k power respectively. Draw trigger and front triggers. They both have the same guard skill where they get 5,000 power. The opponent's Vanguards are grade 3 or greater. All around pretty solid because they help increase guard power, and because there are a lot of cards you might want to like keep in hand to send to soul via Coral skill. It's nice to have like cards that can kind of pick up the slack for that lack of guard that you possibly have. But also in terms of, you know, Palvi, more numbers to front row during your turn, defensive numbers for your front row during your opponent's turns, Baratoy drawing the very important cards you need to send to soul. So kind of obvious why they're both here. I feel like this is one of the few decks that's actually acceptable in. Then we have our 7 crits, 3 copies of Fluffy Lady God to leave, Great Zoe boost, 50k show, 5k power. Okay, I think this was the first deck I did the copy and paste with, and this time it wasn't me being lazy, it was because I just wanted God to leave, because if it's a thing, Coral is a mermaid, you can use her with Aqua for the record. Anyways, Great Zoe boost, 50k show, 5k power, can be any crit you want to make a God leave because it fits the theme. And then we have 4 crits and Precious 2 and Edwidge, Great Zoe boost, 50k show, 4k power, Critical trigger, auto rear guard, then battle the booster, shove it to soul, 2 music, get you for the turn. Okay, weirdly enough, that soul skill would have won me the game if I was not afraid to use Edwidge, because the thing is, because you want to keep many corals in soul as possible, and you don't want to soul blast them out, and there are a handful of soul blasters for whatever reason that may be, you're going to want every extra soul you can get. So Edwidge going to soul, even if that 2k does not make a difference, is very helpful in a deck that technically, quote-unquote, has 0 soul, since you want to have as many corals and soul as possible. So 7 crit, and don't be like me. If the situation comes up where you can call Edwidge and you won't, and you like there's a 50-50 chance you won't die from it, call Edwidge. It will come back to help you, trust me. So 7 crit for pressure, 2 front for more pressure, and then 2 draws to help increase hand. Remember 4 heals and Diva of Extaria and Georgina. Great Zone boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Standing heal and dust powder. You can make this any heal you want. I just choose to make it Georgina because she fits the theme of mermaid for coral. Again, you can make it any heal. You can even make the counter heals. I just don't like the counter heals too much, but again, do as you wish. I just like her as my 4 of here. Then we have our grade, we have a Normanus now. So we run Roam Copy in the main deck. So we had the one in the ride deck earlier with our starter over here, Angelic Coral. But now we run an extra copy in the main deck of Angelic Star Coral, where you're never going to be able to pull off her skill, but she's an extra coral. And I tell you what, me running this one extra coral won me a game, because it was an extra coral that I could send to soul to get the restand effect for the Vanguard. So by all means, even if it's just like a one of random of like vanilla, do it, because you never know if it's going to make the difference, especially if you have the space for it. So one of her. Then move on to our grade 1s. First, we have 4 copies of the starting tone is Corsmal. Anyways, the thing I was referring to earlier when I said something that I wasn't able to do for a long time. In Nirvana, I always run Trickstar as the start, and then I run 3 copies in the main deck. That's what I was referring to. The fact that I ran, but this time it's like reverse. Like, the starter actually has a skill this time, but it has no skills in the main deck compared to Trickstar, who has a quote-unquote skill in the main deck, but doesn't have like a starter skill. But anyways, Cosmo. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto when put on guard circle. The reason why I lost that game, if I had gone Edwidge, and this unit gets 5,000 shield until the battle for every 2 cards with coral on the card name if you soul blast 1. Yeah, this game will forever live in infamy in my head because I knew what I was doing was stupid, but I just didn't know how. And then the second it became like visible to me, I just like facepalmed myself because I would have won if I was actually doing the smart play. Basically, it was literally the first match I did with Coral. It's on the channel, where I used Ilya's skill to bounce herself to hand, soul blasting 1 when I had 1 extra non-Coral card in my soul. And I thought about it for a second and was like, I feel like I'm gonna need that soul, but I was like, no, it's fine, I'll survive anyways. Well, or I said I had enough hand cards to survive, which I did. Except when I bounced that card back, I now, on the next turn, if I hadn't used that soul, I would have had exactly enough corals, so I would have had 4, which would have brought her to 15k shield, would have been enough to survive. However, because I didn't have that 4th coral in soul, if I were to soul blast, I would go down to 3 instead. She'd only be a 10k shield, bringing me 5k just short. So pretty much now, every time I play this deck, I will never use her skill because I am so afraid to end up in that situation again. But, for of Corsmal, like, she's nice. She's a free, like, 15k guard the second you get to grade 3. Hell, technically speaking, you don't have to be on grade 3 for that. If you find a way to soul charge normally before you get to grade 3, she's a 10k shield at least on grade 2. So there's that. Like, Corsmal is a solid grade 1. It's just that the fact that she has to eat into soul for her skill is kind of iffy. But, hey, she's a good grade 1, so I'll give her a 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of Singular Heart Lyrical. Literally the card that works the best with me, and of course I never see her. I love the early game rush, and this card is the epitome of that. And for some unfortunate reason, I either never draw her, and I just draw a bunch of corals, or I will draw her, and I will never see a coral, meaning I can never use her skill. Anyways, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear when she boosts anything. If you have a Vanguard of Coral in the card name of any grade, choose a Coral card from your drop, send it to Soul. It's a May, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to. At the end of that battle, if your Soul has 4 or more Corals and you did not countercharge this turn, you can retire her. You can just choose not to, FYI, to countercharge 1. I love that skill so much. You call her to back center, you call her to back row rear guard columns, doesn't matter. You discard your corals for ride deck, you just boost with her, you send those corals from ride deck back into your soul, and you just get the more corals in there, so when you eventually do use a Royal Star skill, you get more numbers. This card is so good for me, because I love the aggro, I love attacking as soon as possible, I love being able to discard corals randomly, except whenever I draw my corals, I never draw her, and whenever I draw her, I never draw my corals. I do not know why. This is the one time I have a game plan that actually works with me fully, and it doesn't work with me fully. Anyways, 4 of Luicia. She's a very solid grade 1. Allows for the early game rush, or even not an early game. In the late game where you just need to send more corals to soul because maybe you're just carding them from guard or just ride deck in general, you can eat them in there to pump up Aurora Star more, and you can also use it to countercharge in case you're running into CB problems because you're spamming your draw skill a little too much. So 4 copies of Lucaria, just a good grade 1. Then we have 4 copies of our PG and Mermaid Idol Ellie. Grade 1 boost, 0 souls. Okay, base contains Sentinel made for Sentinels in deck. Put on guard circle, choose one mutes. It cannot be hit on the battle. If your hand has 2 more cards in it, choose a card from hand card to stand PG. Nothing to specify about it. Basically means if this is only one of the cards in your hand, you place it on guard circle, you don't have to discard one, which is great, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game. Spam the hell out of Lucaria if you get the chance to, and then when your opponent counterattacks you for doing that, throw down Ellie, give him the middle finger, you're safe if you have little to no hand cards. All around, she's very solid. You can really run any of the Lyrical Monasterio PGs. I just choose to make it Ellie because she's a part of the Bermuda Triangle, and, well, this deck is a Bermuda Triangle encounter deck. It's been so long since I said the word encounter, even though I literally just recorded 2 encounter deck profiles in the last 2 days, including this one. But either way, though, Ellie's just a very solid PG. Like I said, you can run any PG you want, just to make it Ellie because she feels the theme the most, so 4 of her. Then we move on to our last grade 1 of the deck, 1 of them in the ride deck, 3 of them in the main deck because she actually has a skill and is also buffed up by Coral technically, and that is Fresh Star Coral. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 6k, 8k base. I don't know why I said 6k base. Auto and Rotapon by Shiny Star Coral. Check the top 7, choose up to 1 card of Coral in its card name or to 1 grade 3 in a card from them. Reveal, put it to hand, shuffle your deck. Really weird that she just says any grade 3. Like, that's such a random effect, but okay, so you either get herself, you either get your starter, you either get the copy of the grade 2, or you get your main grade 3, or you get this for whatever reason, which all around makes her a pretty solid grade 1. She has the search aspect for that, and then her other ability, the ability that makes her useful with Coral herself, auto when, or you know, the grade 3 Coral herself, auto when put into your soul by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard Coral in the card name, choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets 5,000 power for that turn, and your post Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, it also gets triple drive. All around pretty solid, the Vanguard's down 18k via her skill, most likely with a Aurora Star skill, another plus 10, so at least to 28k, not to mention the fact that the Vanguard now has triple drive. I really wish that this card, like, you know, could be used on grade 2 turn, but it is what it is. Either way though, very solid. If they ever print a later Coral in the future, because of how her wording is specified, she just says when she's put into soul, that means you can use it if the new Coral, if they ever do print one, if it sends it from deck to soul, if it sends it from drop zone to soul, sends it from rear guard to soul, because it procs from wherever as long as it's sent into the soul. So anyways, Coral is a very solid grade 1. Just the top 7 for either another Coral to help set up for later or a grade 3, and also has an ability to give triple drive and 5k power if certain conditions are met when sent to soul. So nice, 3 of them in the main deck, 1 of them in the ride deck. Then we have 4 copies of Diva of Resonating Stars Lutantiel. Basically, no offense to her, but I will never call her. Okay, I've called her the front row, but that was more just because she was a grade 2 and I could rush at that turn. Anyways, grade 2 is a 5k shield, 10k base, auto and put us on rear guard circle. Card boss, when you choose a core from your drop zone, put it to hand. Very solid! Good way to recycle corals! If only when I drew her, I would draw my corals. What I have learned in this deck is if it benefits me at all to have a coral in hand, I'm never gonna have these 2 available to me. But if I have these 2 available to me, I will probably never draw a coral, which sucks. But that just is what it is, because that's the consistency between all of these games for some reason. Anyways, free Coral bounce to hand is pretty solid for only 1 CB cost, and then continues rear guard or guard circle. If your soul has 4 more corals in it, this unit gets 5,000 power, 5,000 shield after one player's turns. Again, the second you get to grade 3, if you're running the full coral line, she's automatically going to be a 15k, 10k shield, which all around is pretty solid. She's nice for like poking, and her recycle skill is genuinely really good. It's just that the same thing with Lyrical over here. I'm just not allowed to draw corals apparently when I have her, so she is more of on lines of just as 15, 10k, which isn't bad, but like at that point I just want to have my actual attackers. So yeah, 4 for her. She does serve a purpose, I just don't get to use that purpose apparently. Then we have 4 copies of Songs Inherited by Singing Certus. Great, I don't know, I was about to say it right and then I what's it called? Overthought it, and then I was about to say it wrong, and then I overthought that, and then I said it right. You know, never mind. Grade 2 is a 5k shield, 10k base, auto rear guard when this attacks into anything. If your Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, Coral plus 5,000 power for that battle. So, interestingly, that it's just attacks into anything, and your Vanguard has to be grade 3 or greater, not it attacks to attack into a grade 3 or greater. So, 15k swings all around pretty solid, and then auto rear guard when this unit stands by the ability of your Vanguard Coral in the card name, she'll get 5,000 power for that turn. So, Coral has the ability to stand, being a free plus 5, or being a free plus 5 is nice, plus Coral's ability to possibly give at least 10 to the front row being a 25, plus maybe her skill during the attack of the battle, so 30k all around before either player even persona rides. Hell, all while your opponent's still at grade 2 is all around pretty solid. So Certus does make for a very solid grade 2 in terms of aggro, and you can also early call her and at least force your opponent to attack into her or just like bully them down with her. So 4 of Certus, just good grade 2 all over. Then we have our last grade 2 in the deck. 1 of them in the ride deck, 3 of them in the main deck of Shiny Star Coral. Grade 2 and set 5k shield, 10k base. What I've learned is I don't like the modern, okay, let me rephrase that. I don't like the non-encounter Lyrical Monasterio grade 2s but then, well, except for like a handful, but then when it comes, for ride decks by the way, but then like when it comes to the encounter ones, I don't hate them. It's weird. I don't know why I hate the grade 2 so much of the Lyrical Monasterio lines, but I love the grade 2s and the encounter lines. Anyways, grade 2 is a 5k shield, 10k base. Auto Vanguard, when she swings, choose one of your rear guards, you may return to hand. Cool, not mandatory, but say for example, you do want to early game rush with Certus, but you don't want to risk her dying next turn because either your opponent's going to get to grade 3 first, or you know they're going to be able to kill her. You can swing with Certus, then swing with Vanguard, bounce Certus, and you're good. Or you can bounce your other important pieces such as Lyrica or Lutiel. Or if you had to call a Coral to board just to bully your opponent down, you can definitely bounce it to hand before your opponent gets a chance to kill it, so you can then use it for a Coral skill later. And then auto, when put into the soul by the ability of your grade 3, get a Vanguard Coral in the card name, draw a card and energy charge 1, and then choose one of your rear guards, 5 as a power for the turn. All around pretty solid. She helps increase your hand, she helps increase your energy, meaning you can use Coral a little bit more consistently, and it gives one of your rear guards 5,000 power. Now, I said it in the what's it called? I said it in the Vert video. No, it wasn't Vert, it was Sagitta. I said in the Sagitta video where we have a main grade 3 that costs 4 EB, like the DZ set Stark bosses, and yet for some reason this deck is more consistent than them in terms of using that skill, because we have one consistent energy charger. Now, that's true, except I cannot speak on that behalf because, again, I either draw my corals or don't. And don't say upping the draw triggers to 3 works. It doesn't. I tried. It literally won't. I think I either have to run like 4 draws or 7 draws, or I just have to like just deal with it until it eventually works out, because man, Coral does not want to show up when I have the cards that make her useful. Anyways, though, 5k draw energy charge is still pretty solid all around. I do like her skill. If only she showed up a little bit more often, especially because it will always be this one that shows. Let me rephrase that. It will be this one that shows up the most, followed by her, and then this is tied 50-50 with this for showing up. I kid you not. Majority of the time, I'm just sending this to Soul, which sucks because I'm missing out on Persona Rise, but I have no choice if I want to use the restand. So one of them in the main deck, or sorry, one of her in the right deck, 3 of her in the main deck. She gets the numbers, she gets the energy, she gets the draws, if only I saw her more consistently. Then move on to our grade 3s, 4 copies of Lumious Melody Ilnicia, who is for some reason searchable by you. Auto rear guard, grade 3, 10% 10k base. Auto rear guard when she attacks on anything. If your soul has 4 more cards with Coral in the card name. Again, if you run the full Coral ride line like I'm doing and you actually hit a Coral off her skill, you're going to have this on first grade 3 turn. CB1 draw card, she's a 5,000 power for the end of that battle, so 18k with a free hand card. Hopefully for you it's a Coral, hopefully for me it's a Coral, but that will never happen. But either way though, being able to draw cards is nice. And it's not once per turn, so you can stand her via Coral's ability. It will eat into your CB a little bit, but it's fine. You can work around that. And then auto rear guard at the end of your turn, if your soul has 4 more Corals, soul bounce 1, bounce her. I would never use this again. Like I said earlier, that first game demoralized me so much because if I had just trusted my gut and didn't use that skill, I could have used Corsball and I would have been fine. I genuinely do not know why. I think I wanted an attacker, but just to make sure that the attacker lit for next turn. I hate myself. I will never use that skill again. I am like too afraid to do that. I got PTSD from it. 4 of her, she's good all around, you know. She can bounce herself. She can make herself technically unhittable because, you know, you're removing him from the board. You get the free hand card and the 5k. I will just never use this skill again. But you know what? She's useful in the sense of on attack. So 4 of. Then we have our last grade 3 in the deck. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck of Aurora Star Coral. Maybe this effect is why I never draw Corals, because I always forget this effect exists. So maybe if I acknowledge its existence, maybe I will draw Corals. At this point, I don't know. I just want to draw my Corals. Anyways, grade 3, 200 Persona Ride, 13k base, continuous Vanguard. All your units with Coral in their card name get plus 5,000 shield. Cool! This is a 5k shield. This is a 10k shield. This is a 10k shield. This is a 10k shield because for some reason they refuse to give grade 0s 10k shields. But, or whatever. It's just a free guard power, which is nice to have and is good on the defensive if you draw your Corals. I know I keep hammering this, but I also want to let this be clear. I tested the same deck out with my friend using it. My friend, using the exact same deck, pulled Corals consistently with the cards that support them, such as her and her. I don't understand why it won't do it for me, but it does it for him. Anyways, those skills, act Vanguard once per turn, send a hand card to soul to draw a card. Okay, at least you get to replace a hand card, worst case scenario. And if you have a card with if you put a card with Coral in the card name for the cost, this unit gets auto Vanguard at the end about the attack and anything. Choose one of your rear guards and stand it. Okay, cool. It's a free rear guard stand if you send a Coral to soul. That's the part I never have problems with. The parts I have problems with is consistently getting Corals, you know, when I need my other support. But you know what? She's all around pretty solid for that reason alone. That means she gets you a rear guard stand and she gets you an extra soul. And then auto at the beginning of your Vanguard at the beginning of your battle phase by energy bossing 4. 4. All of your frontline units get 5,000 power until the end of the turn for every 2 cards with Coral in their card names. Your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater. She also gets an extra crit. So again, if you go on first grade 3, regardless if you go on first grade 3 turn or not, but if you're going the full Coral line, you do send a Coral to Soul via her skill. She's able to give your entire firm a plus 10, and the restand procs regardless of what grade your opponent's at. And if they're at grade 3, she'll also get an extra crit, meaning you get more pressure. And like I said, towards the end game, which this deck, when I'm using it at least, the deck will get to, because again, lack of Coral seeing. When it does get to the end game, and you slowly have just a bunch of Corals in Soul, plus 15, plus 20, Vanguard extra crit with a restand, all around pretty solid. So I do love Aurora Star a lot. She gives your Corals more defensive value, which is nice in case you have to last resort call them to guard circle. She gets you at least a free hand card tutor, and she also gets you a guaranteed free restand if you send a Coral to Soul. And not to mention the fact that her Simple Energy Blast 4, which granted is kind of hard to manage, but you know, with this Coral at least it makes it a little bit easier. You can definitely get some good numbers out of an extra crit, and if you have the time to send her to Soul instead for the triple drive, you can add some good pressure on that too. So she's a nice 3 in the main deck, 1 in the right deck. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. Even though I don't see my Corals and my like game makers consistently whenever I try to play this deck, I do think the deck is still fun to play regardless. Even with that, it's because it's, you know, the fact that I know I'm only going to hit like 1 to 2 Corals every game, so I basically have to play it properly. So I have to call when it's going to be the right time to go all in on offense. I have to call when it's going to be the right time to go in on defense, type of thing. It's all around a very fun deck to play. I think it's really cool, and if you have good luck with Coral, then I hate you, but good on you for at least being able to play the deck to its full ability. So without further ado, I'm going to test one here. I hope you all enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join for Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.